Hi everybody, welcome to All Games New and Old. I'm David Rodriguez.
I'm Hillary Rodriguez.
And today we're going to be reviewing Viticulture World, which is the cooperative expansion to Viticulture Essential Edition, or not Essential Edition, if that's what you have. That's great. So it's designed by Mihir Shah and Francesco Testini.
It's a 1 to 6 player game, and it says it plays in about 75 to 95 minutes. I feel like that's a little bit short for our gameplays. And we were only 2 players, so if you're playing at a higher play count, I would definitely expect to take probably closer to 2.5, 3 hours.
Yeah, it could. If you have a group that really doesn't get the analysis paralysis, you might be able to do it in that amount of time. Like, I wouldn't say that that's impossible, but not for us, because she's planning and I'm sitting there looking at it like so. That's how it feels. But anyway, it took us a little bit longer. So, depending on your review, you may have that, because there is a lot to think about in this game. So, to give you an idea, if you played Viticulture before, it is very similar. You're trying to build up your vineyard, and you're trying to get victory points. And this one also has another track that is your influence track. But in this case, you're working together. You're trying to, we think, make your continent a bigger player in the wine world. But, that it's worker placement. You're going to, put your people out in spots. You have seasonal workers at the start that can be trained into workers that can work in any season. You have different continents you can play on. And then each round, there's 6 in the game, you're going to turn a card over, and it's going to have some effect on the game and how you play. And if you can get everybody up to the victory point level and get your influence track up to 10, usually, unless you have something that changes that, then you win. Otherwise, you do not win. It's very sad. No wine.
Yeah.
No wine for you.
There's also innovation tiles that can cover up spots, either action spots or the placement spots, that can give you bonuses and make the game a little bit easier. But you have to pay money to unlock those. Yeah,
I think they're well worth it, though, a lot of times.
But it takes up an action, so you kind of have to pick and choose.
Absolutely.
So for the artwork, if you're familiar with any of the Viticulture games, it's similar art styles. The artwork is really well done. The artwork for the different continents is well done. Their color, the continents all are represented by a different color. Some of the font, I think they should have changed the color of the font based off the color of the card, just to make it a little bit easier to read. And then with the mama and papas, some of the papas are female and some of the mamas are male. So you can, if you do a blind draw like we do, you can end up having a gay couple, which I think is really cool that they did that.
Me too.
We did notice that the newer cards are darker than the older cards that we have. Our set is also very old, so it might just be a difference in age of the cards. But I also know that just printing batch to batch can have little differences in color variations. So
yeah, and it doesn't really matter. You're talking about like one pick out of the game, so and again, you have a good number of both, so you're still not going to be like, oh, I know that dark one is the one that gives you this, haha, and it's cooperative, so why are you trying to be all sneaky? Really ridiculous. I'm glad you mentioned the font on those cards. Holy smokes, man! Like, my vision isn't terrible, right? It's not great. I do need my glasses to read some things, but even with my glasses, some of these, I think the first one was like this kind of medium or light green ink on beige. Holy smokes, man. It's a little bit of a challenge to read. Some of them are better than others, but all of them, I think, partially because of the font, which looks pretty. I don't know what it says, but it looks no, I mean, I can get through it, but sometimes I have to be like, what the hell does that say, So that's kind of aggravating.
Yeah, and I think if you have any kind of color blindness, that's another thing to be aware of.
Yeah, I don't know how that'll affect you or not, but it's it's close, some of them. This does have components that I absolutely love. There's these little yellow and blue hats that represent your seasonal workers because, like, other than your grinder worker, half of yours are going to be summer workers, and so they'll wear little yellow hats, and half of them are going to be winter workers, and they wear the little blue hats. And you could train them up so they take off their hat, and now they can work anytime. Because once you're good enough at being in a vineyard, I guess you don't have to wear headgear anymore. I don't know. But anyway, they're adorable. They're cute. They snap on, or not snap isn't quite right because they're rubber, but they clip. They get on there good.
They slide on there.
Yeah, they fit those things better than any hat fits me because I got a huge head. So
one thing that I did notice is that it tends to fit a little bit better depending on which direction your meeple is facing. I'm not sure why it seems like it should work either way, but if you are having trouble getting the hat on, try and flip your meeple around and see if that.
It's got to be because like you're naturally inclined to put it on a certain way. Because I mean, it can't really be because I mean the meeple is technically the same, so it's got to be just like getting it on the right way, getting it on the right size or side rather. If you're doing it on a certain way, you'd have to put it on in like an unnatural way for it to go on there. I feel like, or maybe you try both. I don't know, but either way, yeah, I can see. Other than that, it uses a lot of the same. I mean, a lot of the components from original Viticulture. The board looks very similar, although it is different. But as far as the look, it's there's no drastic changes between this and Viticulture or the originals. So. All right, so for the theme, we kind of touched on this in the beginning. You're trying to have a successful vineyard, and you're kind of working together to do it. I don't know if you're being two successful vineyards, or maybe you're controlling two different parts of the same, or could be more than two, several other parts of the same vineyard. I don't know. Either way, you're trying to make it a big thing. Maybe you're trying to make your continent known for wine.
Yeah, I feel like it's like continent versus continent. So yeah, you're separate vineyards, but you're working as a continent to be the best.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because yeah, if you look at some of the event cards that one comes out every year, it'll have some flavor text, and a lot of that is like historical stuff. Like, oh, like this is what happened in Australia and how they managed to get this kind of grape over there, whatever. So I think that might be getting the continent you're on more well known for stuff, which is pretty neat. Again, I think personally, just like original Viticulture, it really does feel like you're kind of building up your vineyard and you're making your wine, and I think it handles the theme really well. Personally,
yeah, I agree. It's the actual play of it. It's very similar to Viticulture or the Tuscany expansion, where this one is unique. Besides being cooperative, is having those continents, and different things will happen based off of the continent, and it makes sense for what happens to your grapes or your fields or whatever. I think the only thing that I would maybe change, and I'm not even totally sure if this is really a thing, is like maybe having some different wine grapes cards for different continents, because I could be wrong, but I believe that like certain continents will focus more on specific types of wine. So
that could be. I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, that could certainly be. I think when those events come out, because it is like something that had to do with like this is historically something that happened when they were bringing wine to this place. I think sometimes how it affects your board feels kind of thematic to that. I mean, it's never this massive overhaul in one card, but little things here and there. I think that's kind of fun. It's kind of interesting to see that. I would probably never research wine history personally. It's fine. I don't care that much. But in a game, it's fun to kind of experience that and hear about that stuff, because I would have no idea otherwise. All I know about wine history is like I have wine, but now I drink it, and now I had wine. Wine history. There you go.
So one of the things that is kind of interesting with this game that has to do with, and it's different for each continent, but there's an event token that may come into play from year to year, and it kind of gives your group a goal to accomplish for that year, and you get a bonus. A lot of times it's going up on that influence track, but I think that it's kind of cool that they have that there. I think it can also be a good distraction from you trying to like achieve other things that might actually help you win the game.
That's true.
But it is kind of an interesting new aspect to the game.
Yeah, because it'll often give you a chance to get bonuses We didn't play every single continent, so it's possible some of them aren't that, but yeah, it's tempting to go for those. I feel like, oh, now I have to rearrange my strategy to do it. But I think you're right. I think sometimes there might be a little bit of like a red herring. Like, let's get you distracted over here when you should be, training your worker or whatever it is. I could see that. Tricky, tricky Stonemaier Games. One thing to note about this game is that it's hard. It's really hard. It's really hard. You have 6 years, to 6 rounds, however you want to look at it, to get done what you need to get done. That is tough. Yeah. That is so tough.
I feel like on almost every game we had, the very first game we played, we beat it by the skin of our teeth, but we beat it.
Just barely.
But all the rest of the games, I feel like we were like 1 year shy. If we could have just done one more round, we would have won on, I think, just about every game we played. But
yeah, and there is a certain flow to this game that I'm still trying to honestly get used to, because I feel like you get to about year 4, and almost invariably I'm like, oh, we have no hope. We're not gonna. Like, we're barely up on the tracks at all. Like, we're not gonna do it. But you're building your engine of sorts. You're getting your vineyard and whatnot to be more efficient, and so you tend to get a lot of points in the last couple years, I would say.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but I can't. Like, I swear to God, I think every game we played, like, there's a point, even in year 5, where I'm like, do you want to just call it? Like, we're not gonna do it. And oftentimes, granted, I was actually right, but we did usually get closer than I thought we would. But there's a lot of times like, should we even play this out? Like, we're so far behind, and there's so much we would need to do to get there. Like, is there a point to playing the 6th year? I don't know. And that could be just me being a big old quitter. I don't know. I'm not sure. But like, we play a lot of co-op games, and in general, they're designed to be difficult. And most games, I don't get that impression, like, forget it, we're gonna throw in the towel, usually, until it's like really like the end, right? Yeah. Sometimes then I will. This game, I swear to God, a little past halfway through, every time I'm
right around year 4.
Yeah, it's right around year 4. I'm just like, this isn't gonna happen. Like, we're so abysmally far behind. It's not gonna happen. Do you do that? Is it just me? Am I just being like all doom and gloom? I don't know. I feel like that's how it is to me.
I sometimes get that in, like, going into year 6, but like at that point, like, because we had that in our first game too, and like somehow I managed to find a strategy that let us just squeak in there.
Brilliant.
So I think I'm always holding out hope that I'm gonna be able to do something.
You should like design some of those Rube Goldberg machines, where it's like, oh, this marble goes down here and it triggers this thing that makes a little bit flip around. Because I swear to God, you were like, okay, if we do this and then you do this and then I trade this to you, and then I was like, what? Like, I did not even.
You just told me what to do.
I didn't begin to see this path at all. I would have probably got myself 3 more victory points. I think you got me like 10 or so. I don't know. I don't know what happened exactly. It was the most complicated. This is why our games took longer, is because you're able to like analyze this and actually like, you're better at this than I am. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, it just is. But because I'm happy to just like, let's see how this goes and just kind of do it. But that's not really a great path to victory, because I am not that good at games that I can just do that and have it work out. You, on the other hand, you will sometimes take longer, but you will come up with this insane like chain reaction, like hold on, Dave. I have to convince a butterfly to flap his wings in South America. Then when that happens, it will like, wow. It's amazing. I shouldn't feel doom and gloom if I'm playing with you. I should be like, Hillary's got a plan. We're halfway through year 6, but Hillary has a plan. I have 1 victory point. Hillary has a plan. That's how I feel. Anyway, but this is how it strikes me. And you think after several plays, I would just go in knowing that's how it is. But every time I hit that year and I'm like, we're so far behind. And I'll even go, we're always so far behind right here. I don't think I like this. And then we at least get close. Not win necessarily, because again, really freaking hard, but we get close. I guess I was to say, this is a very tight game.
Yes.
You cannot dawdle. You can't mess up. Like, honestly, you have to be maximizing your efficiency.
And, you know, and kind of like in regular viticulture, like, sometimes the cards just, there is definitely some luck to this, because sometimes cards are just not with you.
Yep.
You know, we actually kind of came up with a house rule where we can...
mulligan?
Yeah. Where we can mulligan our cards if our starting hand that we get from the mom and papas is just not a good hand to have, especially early on in a game. We just put those cards away and get new cards out, because it's, you know, in the regular viticulture, like, I've played some games before where I had that luck where I just could not get cards that I needed. And that game was frustrating, but at least I was competing with other people, and so, I lost that game, and it was frustrating, but, like, I at least knew that there was a chance that I might be able to catch up. Where this, since there's only 6 rounds, like, if you start off that far behind, it's gonna be pretty much impossible. So, I would suggest you maybe doing a similar house rule.
Yeah, I think so too, because, I mean, that's the one complaint you always hear about viticulture, is because of those cards, it can be real swingy. Like, you can have just bad luck, and that can affect everything, and like you say, I think that's more fine in a multiplayer game, because you aren't likely to get completely screwed the whole game, although you did once. But you're not as likely to, and I guess technically there is a certain number of rounds that this game is going to go. You don't know what it is, so you don't ever feel like the pressure of it, to me anyway, unless someone's like getting close to the victory point goal. But this one, you know, it's 6 rounds, so if you have a round that's garbage because you can't plant your plants because you need to build 2 structures and you don't have the money to build 2, whatever, there's a lot of things, right? Then a wasted round is doom. Like, it's doom in this game, I think. Even with the easier scenarios, it's you got to have something like this. So we haven't played with there was like the 2 mini expansions. I cannot remember what they're called. I think they're right next to me somewhere, but they're underneath other. I have a lot of games stacked up, you guys. Anyway, and I've heard that those cards kind of like make it less swingy overall, at least in the competitive game. So I'm curious if those would be helpful in the cooperative one. Although I don't think it changes. I think it just changes the visitors. I don't think it changes like the vines you get. Yeah. So you could still get, you know, your vines that you need, the 2 structures, and you're just not going to get that probably the first round. So I don't know. Yeah.
So I played the solo mode. You never got a chance to play the solo mode, right? Some of the things that changes when you're doing a solo mode is that there's a deck that represents another player. They get some cards so that you can, like, because in this game you can trade money or cards, maybe wine. I don't remember now. I think you can trade with other players as long as one of you has a grande worker on that spot. With this substitute player in the solo mode, you can trade with them. They basically get 1 card from each suit that you're playing with. And so if they have like a really good order that you could fill, you can trade with them. But beyond that, it's basically just there to kind of represent spots that you can't take or can't use up. The other player gets coins, and so you can pay coins to retrieve their workers. So you can open up a spot if there's a spot that you really need to use. And then, like, they can also pay money to do the influence track, or pay money to basically, instead of them actually fulfilling a goal, they basically paid money to fulfill the goal. And so it works really well. It's definitely as challenging as playing with other people. The thing that I do think is kind of neat is that they actually have some special rules for each continent, so that when you're doing a solo mode, and then some of those influence tiles that changes what action you can do at spaces. A couple of those are changed out as well, so it makes a little bit more sense, or makes being a solo a little easier. Another note is that influence track changes based off of how many players you have. So yeah, it's only one less than if you're at 2 or 3 players, so it doesn't make a huge difference on the solo mode versus what we played, but
yeah. So the solo mode, it's pretty easy to handle the AI. Like, it's not like that's good, because games where you have to do like a million things to get the AI going I don't prefer this. But
basically they're like they basically just have a deck that you flip over, and they collect money when you flip over that card, and then you put out their summer worker. You basically flip a card for each summer and winter. So you flip over the summer card, you find out where you're playing their players, and then you flip over, and then you take your actions, and then when it's winter time, you flip over another card, they collect more money, and you put out the workers based off of their card. So
let's talk about this influence track for a minute. Mm-hmm. So I think this game would be challenging without the influence track even being there.
Yeah.
Just getting your 2 characters up past or however, I keep saying 2 because I played with her. However many characters you have, getting everybody up to the right amount of victory points, still pretty challenging. Mm-hmm. The influence track, you have to get up to 10. Now, you may not start at 0, depending, again, like the number of players you have. But the space on the board, at least how it starts to do that, it costs you 8 lira, I think it's lira, to move it up 1. And there's other things that can cause it to move up 1, but wow. Money is so tight. Like, it costing so much is so much. It's so, like, wow. Like, it's almost hard to focus on that, because I'm so busy trying to get the what I need to get my orders filled, so I get the victory points, and then it's like, oh yeah, I can't go to this space to raise the influence track because I have to do these other things.
Yeah.
Ooh,
and I think that's really where, like, the different continents are going to make the game harder or easier. Because like with the Asian continent cards, they do a lot of their event tokens lets you move up that influence track. So, like, out of all the continents that we played, the Asian one was my favorite one, and I did use that as the one for the solo mode as well. And part of that is because like I said, each continent has like a little bit different rules when you're doing solo mode, except for the Asian continent, and that one stays the same. So it was kind of easy to transition from just playing that as with the 2 of us to doing it as a solo.
Yeah, I like that content as well. It says some kind of neat things. It's easy. So, like, while the others are like climbing Mount Everest with no hiking gear or climbing gear, the Asian one is like climbing the next smallest mountain with no climbing gear or hiking gear. It's easy. This is a hard game. Yeah, I mean, I like the variety. It's awesome. But just know, this is not a game that you can waste your turns. You cannot.
Yeah.
You gotta have a plan.
Alright, so for my final score, like I said, Viticulture is definitely one of my top games. I really like the original Viticulture. I like the Test Me expansion because I like it so much. I was the one that played the solo game this time, where normally it's him that's always playing the solo game. The thing with this is because it's an expansion, so you can play this game, you can play the whole Viticulture games as competitive or co-op. I think probably 85-90% of the time I'm going to choose the competitive version of this game. I still have fun with this game, but it is a very hard game, and it hits differently than our other hard co-op games. And so for that, I'm going to give it a 7. I still like the game. I'll still play it. You know, we have some friends that don't like competitive games, so this would be a fun way to introduce them to the Viticulture games. You know, I definitely want to play the solo game some more and try the different continents and see if I like the solo game better with the different continent rules. So I still like the game a lot, but because I would prefer to do the competitive over the co-op so much more often, I'm gonna stick with the 7.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'd be echoing a lot of what you said. I'm at a 7 too, but when you're talking, it got me thinking, this is going to sound maybe strange. If Viticulture Essential Edition wasn't a thing, and it was just released as this cooperative game, I feel like I would like it more because I'd be more likely to play that. Well, I'd definitely be more likely to play a competitive game that doesn't exist. But if I'm going to pull out Viticulture at all, and if it's not with people that only want to play cooperative games, I'm going to pick the competitive one every time just because I feel like I have a little more wiggle room to do the things I want to do. It doesn't have to be... I mean, obviously you want to play efficiently then too to win, but it doesn't feel quite so tight. You got a little room to mess around and experiment with things, and I prefer that. So yeah, I'm happy to play this again. It is good. It is very well done, for sure. I think people who like really tight games are going to absolutely love it because there's definitely that. But yeah, for me, there's other cooperative games I would rather play, and I'd rather play competitive Viticulture than cooperative Viticulture, but I will definitely play this game again, happily so. So that's where we're at. 2 7s, pretty good overall. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like and subscribe and click the little bell icon so you can know about the next time we put out a video. Otherwise, look forward to see you all around the table again at All Games New and Old.
Bye.
If you enjoyed that video, you might also like this one.
Or this one.
If you like any of our videos, what you should do is click this little button to subscribe so you'll know about the next time we put out a video.
We'll see you around the table.
Bye.
Bye.